When Russia first invaded Ukraine last year, Elon Musk made a sensation by announcing that SpaceX would give internet access to the beleaguered country via its Starlink satellite internet system. The world community has noticed that the terminals are even being used on the front lines in Ukraine to command drones for strikes. SpaceX has taken steps to restrict Ukraine's usage of the Starlink satellite internet service during its continuing conflict with Russia. Starlink was an essential component of Ukraine's communications infrastructure during the crisis, which started on February 24 last year when Russia invaded the country. After all, service beaming down from space is more difficult for an enemy to take down than coverage offered by towers on the ground. SpaceX has restricted Ukraine's ability to use its satellite internet service for military purposes following reports that Kyiv used it to operate drones. Why Elon Musk supplied Starlink internet in the beginning? Elon Musk provided Ukrainians with access to Starlink satellite internet services. SpaceX, the aerospace manufacturing company owned by Elon Musk, runs the Starlink satellite internet constellation. The Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Mikhailo Fedorov, made a direct request, and this decision was made in response. In Ukraine, Starlink service is presently operational. Elon Musk responded to the Vice Prime Minister's Twitter request with, "More terminals are on the way." In another tweet, the founder of SpaceX announced that his business was sending Ukrainians the tools they needed to use Starlink's services. High-speed broadband internet is offered through Starlink's low-orbit satellites. However, access to the network necessitates the installation of a unique antenna and modem. Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals are en route. Elon Musk said on February 26, 2022, "At this juncture, when Russia was bombing Ukrainian cities mercilessly, Musk's assistance was a lifeline for the Ukrainian people." In a tweet, Fedorov thanked Musk and Oksana Markarova, the Ukrainian ambassador to the US, for her swift decisions related to authorization and certification that allowed us to activate the Starlink. The Ukrainian people stood up and battled a superpower with sheer willpower while pouring snow and descending hellfire. This unbreakable spirit has propelled the world to aid in their endeavors. Musk is one of many influential figures who decided to pay attention to and support those affected by war. Why is Starlink crucial to Ukraine? The use of drone attacks by Ukraine against Russian tanks and positions has been greatly assisted by technology. Soon after Russia invaded Ukraine, SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, began giving Ukraine free access to its Starlink internet service. The strategic advantages were obvious: internet access for Ukrainians and the nation's military after Russia blocked internet connections early in the conflict. Musk announced Friday that SpaceX would no longer give Ukrainians free Starlink, a week after a Twitter argument with Ukrainian ambassador Andriy Melnik. The future of Ukraine's Starlink access currently needs to be discovered. According to reports, the Pentagon has been requested to pay for it. Having access to fast internet is a good idea at first. However, there is debate concerning Starlink satellite internet. Without a public debate or official scrutiny, Musk and Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Digital Transformation, reached a public deal to provide Starlink to that country via the private blogging platform Twitter. Concerns exist about what would transpire if Musk sold the finished private Starlink project to the highest bidder. What would happen if the government, even less regulated totalitarian nations, or private businesses than SpaceX, was in charge of this network spanning the entire planet? Ukraine conflict. SpaceX forbids Kyiv from utilizing Starlink technology for drone control. Thousands of SpaceX Starlink dishes, which connect to satellites and aid in maintaining internet connectivity, were provided to Ukraine early in the conflict. However, it is also said to have broken SpaceX rules by using the technology to target Russian sites. According to a Ukrainian official, businesses had to decide which side they supported. Mikhailo Podolyak, a presidential advisor, tweeted that they could choose to support Russia and its right to kill and capture lands, or they could support Ukraine and the right to freedom. She referred to Ukraine's alleged use of Starlink to manage drones while reiterating that the tools had been given to aid in humanitarian efforts. Kyiv has utilized unmanned aircraft to locate Russian troops, drop bombs, and defend against Moscow's drone attacks, and they have been crucial to the war effort. Elon Musk, the creator of SpaceX, has accused Russia of attempting to block Starlink transmissions. The CEO claimed she couldn't say whether these initiatives were to blame for Starlink service failures late last year. Ms. Shotwell acknowledged that the Ukrainian military may utilize Starlink technology for communications, but she emphasized that her goal was never to have them use it for aggressive purposes. Without providing more information, she claimed that the company had taken measures to restrict the Ukrainian military's ability to use Starlink for offensive purposes. Following its invasion of its neighbor in February of last year, Russia moved fast to restrict social media and shut down regional internet services. Soon after, the first Starlink terminals were delivered to Ukraine to keep people connected. They function by linking to low Earth orbit satellites. Other than the terminals delivered directly by the corporation, some have been supported by foreign governments. Mr. Musk indicated in October that he could no longer support Starlink in Ukraine, but he quickly changed his mind. In a tweet last week, the billionaire mentioned the problem once more and conceded that there was a problem at work. He mentioned, SpaceX Starlink has become the connectivity backbone of Ukraine all the way up to the front lines. This is the damned if you do part. Ukraine is in uproar as Elon Musk's SpaceX restricts the usage of Starlink for drones. A senior Ukrainian presidential advisor responded angrily upon hearing that Elon Musk's SpaceX had taken action to block its Starlink satellite communications service from commanding drones, which are crucial to Kyiv's forces in repelling the Russian invasion. Gwynne Shotwell, SpaceX's chief operating officer, said at a conference in the US that the surprise decision had been taken because it had never been the company's aim to allow Starlink to be used for offensive objectives. Mikhailo Podolyak, a top advisor to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, immediately voiced his displeasure on Thursday morning, claiming that Musk's company had neglected to acknowledge Ukraine's right to self-defense. After the Russian Federation's unprovoked invasion last year, businesses had to choose whether they were on the side of the right to freedom or on the side of the Russian Federation and its right to kill and capture lands, Podolyak tweeted. Musk, the inventor of SpaceX, decided to give Starlink to Ukraine for free shortly after the war began in response to a request made on Twitter by Mikhailo Fedorov, the Ukrainian Minister of Digital Transformation. Musk responded, "Starlink service is now operational in Ukraine." At a time when Moscow's forces are attacking throughout a significant portion of the Eastern Front, Ukrainian forces employ Starlink to help handle their extensive network of surveillance drones, which are essential to tracking Russian troop concentrations and military activities. As other internet services were inaccessible due to battle damage, power outages, jamming, or simply because the locations were distant, the country's military quickly came to rely on Musk's network. The unilateral declaration by SpaceX also runs against the interests of Western countries, which are increasing their military assistance to Kyiv to support its resistance. Last month, they agreed to deliver tanks. After Zelensky's appeals during a trip to London, Paris, and Brussels this week, they are now debating whether to provide combat jets. Although it should not come as a surprise to the corporation, Kyiv's military has been using Starlink to control drones for months, despite Shotwell's claim that Starlink was never meant to be weaponized by Ukraine. She continued, Ukrainians have taken advantage of it in ways that were not intended and stipulated in any agreement. SpaceX confirms that it is preventing the Ukrainian military from using satellite technology. According to the president of SpaceX, the business has taken proactive measures to stop Ukrainian forces from deploying drones, a crucial part of their conflict with Russia, to communicate with essential Starlink satellite technology. We are capable of doing and have done things. Regarding reports on Starlink and drone use, Gwynne Shotwell said on Wednesday, "There are things that we can do to impede their capacity to do that." Shotwell asserted that Starlink was never intended to be utilized militarily in the manner it has, and that the corporation failed to foresee how heavily and innovatively the Ukrainian military would rely on the technology. Starlink has been an essential component of Ukraine's communications infrastructure throughout the conflict, which started on February 24 when Russia invaded the country. However, Elon Musk and SpaceX never imagined that Starlink would be deployed in Ukraine in the way that it has.